Hello, welcome to this video. This is the seventh video on Surd, and in this video we are going to be talking about product of conjugate Surd. In our previous video we talked about conjugate Surd, and we see that conjugate Surd are Surd whose product results to a rational number. Remember that. Then how do we find product of conjugate Surd? Now, to give us a direct definition or method, the product of conjugate Surd is the difference of the squares of the component of the Surd or the element of the Surd. Now we're going to see that. Now remember that from the difference of two squares we have, whenever you have this, of course, if these are Surd, we see that they are conjugate. So here a plus b multiplied by a minus b. If you solve this from our difference of two squares, you're going to have this is going to result to a square minus b square. If you solve it, it's going to have this. Now, similarly, what if this number are Surd? Let us see it in Surd form now. This is Surd a plus Surd b multiplied by Surd a minus Surd b. Actually, these Surds here, they are what? These are conjugate Surd, because this is addition and this is subtraction. The elements remain the same. So when we have this type of Surd, how do we find our product? Of course, if we are to prove this, we are going to have this multiplied by this. That's going to give us a Surd a. Actually, like for what we see now, the product of conjugate Surd is the difference of the squares of the element. So the simplest way is now is for you to find the square of this, subtract it by the square of this. That's going to give us Surd a square minus Surd b square. This is how to find product of conjugate Surd. You don't have to go through long process. Just find the square of this, subtract it from the square, because these elements are the same and this element are the same. So here now we see that the square will take out the square root and the square will take out the square root. So we are having our a minus b. So that is why we say that the square of the product of conjugate Surd is the difference of the squares of the component of the Surd. So when you square this component and you find the difference, you are going to have the product of the Surd. Now we are going to simplify the following, find the following product of conjugate Surd. So we have some product of conjugate Surd here. This and these are conjugate Surd. How do you find that product? If they give you this number, if you have to multiply this together, how do you do it? The simplest way is for you to find the what? Find the square of this minus subtracted and subtract the square of this from this. That's going to give us something like of this form. We're going to have 2 Surd 3 square minus 5 Surd 5 square. Now, well, how do we do that? Because we're going to do 2 square. 2 square is 4 times, and here we are going to have that is 2. Here will be 2 square multiplied by Surd 3 square, and here we have minus this one. I'm going to have Surd 5 square. Now here we have 2 square is 4 multiplied by, now this square here will take out the square root. We'll be left with 3, and here square take out the square root, we'll be left with 5. So that gives us 4 times 3 is 12 minus 5, and that gives us 7. So this is how to find the product of conjugate Surd. Now final example is going to be this, and it says Surd 3 minus 5 multiplied by the Surd 3 plus 5. These are conjugate Surd, because here is addition, here is subtraction, and here is addition. These are conjugate Surd. And anytime you are multiplying or finding the product of conjugate Surd, all you do is the square of this first element minus the square of the second element. That is all you do, to avoid wasting time going through long procedures. So once you know that the Surd are conjugate, just do that. Just find the square of the first element minus the square of the second element. Now let us simplify this now. We're going to have the square here, take out the square root. Here will be 3, and here this one does not have square root, so we're going to find 5 squares, which is 25. And then we are going to have 3 minus 25, which is going to give us minus 22. So this is how to find product of conjugate Surd. Like, don't forget that to find the product of conjugate Surd, you take the square of the first element, subtract and minus the square of the second element. You have done with that. But if you want to expand it, you're going to go through long procedures. Thank you for watching this video. This is the seventh video on sword. And in the next video, we're going to be talking about rationalizing sword, how to rationalize and simplify sword. And that is where the main work is. Join us in the next video. Thank you. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done that. Thank you.